All right, welcome to another Power Comics book club. I'm Evan.
And I'm Ben.
What's up, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, hanging in there, ready to dive into this monster.
Yes.
Private Ice. One of our
Yes.
favorite, definitely DIY self-published comic books from the '90s. Private Ice. If you stumbled across this and you don't know what Power Comics is a exploration of these types of comics, these DIY, self-published, total outsider, genuine, handmade, homegrown, bizarro worlds that we love to obsess over here. Because untrained art is sometimes more fascinating than trained art. I think you would agree, right?
100%. Yeah, it's the most inspiring, you know, stuff to me. More inspiring than any other like mainstream stuff or I don't know, more inspiring than most other comics for me.
I think you're right. I think it's the best way to put it. It's so inspiring because the ideas are so unfiltered. There's no inhibitions. There's nothing. It's totally pure, and it's from the mind of like, it feels like it's from the mind of one person. Like it's so singular, and like as we keep saying. Anyway, so the gimmick here with this show is Ben and I are obsessed with these comics. We're sharing them all over on patreon.com/powercomics. You can actually look at these full issues in high res quality, and then we unpack them here on YouTube, man. Isn't that right?
That's right.
Okay. All right, before we crack this open, I want to say one thing, and then I want to ask you about it. One thing is the man who wrote this comic book, whose name is Trobey Trotter. I don't know another Trobey. I don't know if you do.
I don't.
He was 15 years old when he wrote this comic, and I think that's pretty, amazing as an accomplishment, but also very once you read it, it explains a lot, right?
Definitely. Wow. But for a 15-year-old to produce this it's amazing. That's a miracle.
It's a miracle. All right, so you had read this before. I know before I had said that we should cover it on the show. But what was your takeaways on this? After finishing Private Ice.
One thing that's pretty amazing about it is, and especially for a power comic, it's really jokey. It's almost like a satire of the genre that it's portraying, or the story is
Totally
sort of encapsulating what genre the story is.
Do you like jokey?
So I do. I like this kind of jokey a lot, which is
Yeah.
not. It's like jokes that are falling flat, and it's just
Misfires.
trying so hard to be funny, and it's just great. I love. It's just the humor is great, and there's things that just don't make any sense at all, and I really dig it. I really dig it, but yeah, I don't know. It depends on. I guess it depends on how well done the jokes are.
That's true. Right. Like I think here, like, yeah, you can definitely hear and feel a spleen moments away from rupturing to try and be any funnier than this. Adolescent humor is being executed here. One thing that's interesting right off the bat, something that I immediately, like, at a close inspection of this comic or this comic's cover is that a hot dog that he's holding? Can you?
I don't know. It's
I think he's holding a hot dog.
It might be a hot dog. Kind of looks like it could be like a vape pen, but I know that didn't exist way back when.
Would be very fitting though for this if it were.
I just realized it says issue 1 in the garbage pile above the character's head.
Oh yeah,
which I didn't notice before.
I noticed the hot dog, but did not notice that.
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, it's really weird.
And my copy is signed by Trobey, which is not part of the original cover. Obviously, he created a sign and then put his name there. And I had a chance to speak to him, which we'll talk about later. And that's where he revealed to me that he was 15 years old when he made Private Ice. And the title Private Ice is a inside joke, of course, with his friends one of his high school friends who thought the song Private Eyes was Private Ice. So If that's what's to come. That's a perfect preamble of what's to come here.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, let's crack it open. Here we go. And immediately we notice letters to Bob, who is speaking in German off the top here, holding a spray paint can and a frying pan. What do you make of old Bob here on the inside cover?
Yeah, super weird. And now that you mentioned like that, there's some inside jokery happening. That
Mm-hmm.
this guy, this character, definitely has to be an inside joke, and he makes a really strange cameo appearance later in the book.
He sure does.
Um, but yeah, weird mascot. Definitely don't know what's happening with this guy, who's literally the first thing that you're going to see when opening the book.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, this is what we're in store for already off the top. So anyway, so Bob introduces us to the world of Private Ice. Now this page here is, again, a lot of these comics, like we said in one of our previous book clubs, starts on rooftops, right? And this is no different. And it's
Yeah,
super bizarre here. Cooking with Fusion is the name of this story. What do you make of that off the top? I don't
very
know.
confusing. Yeah, don't know what that means at all. Even now, after having read it, not sure
I do, but we'll
exactly
get
what
to it
it means.
later.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's really strange, and it almost seems like it's done outside of the frame of the splash page. So you're like, wow, this was really tacked on at the end.
The end. They needed a title. We need a
You know?
title. Yeah,
Yeah,
before going to
exactly.
print. Yeah, yeah.
which is which I always dig. Last minute sort of corrections
Last minute corrections. Totally.
being totally evident as edits.
Lot of people on the staff here. A lot of people on the. How do you pronounce the name of this? Pre pre mess. I can't.
No idea.
Pre premastidium. Premastidium. I don't.
Promestidium.
Yeah, comics. A lot of people
Sounds
on.
close.
It's close. A lot of people on staff here, including old Trobey. He's here kicking it. Artist Kevin Harshman. What are you thinking art wise here on the first dropping face first here in Private Eyes?
Super intense.
Mm-hmm. Kind of gothic.
It's yeah, gothic. There's just it's really going for it on the splash page, which
Mm.
is a really pretty innocuous splash page. There's no action. There's no
True.
figures whatsoever. It's just this clock tower and the building tops. Odd perspective, which is nothing new for Power Comics.
Nope. Very, very odd
Over
perspective.
over rendering, like lots of cross hatching, kick us off. Declaration of seriousness is happening here.
Over rendering is interesting. I haven't heard that,
Yeah,
but yeah, that's definitely that's way on display here between what's here in the foreground and then obviously the background.
yeah, just really going for it, which we always love to see. But yeah, it's a strange splash page though. There's no real kind of narrative entry point.
And it's interesting too, like as we go and as we start flipping through this comic here, we're gonna notice that the style degrades and atrophies as it goes on. Like right here, this is like definitely some of the more accomplished. And I don't know if that is speaking to the fact that like it's trying to be serious a little bit and trying to like trying to poke fun at the noir genre, and then but then the art just completely degrades as this goes on, and we almost become sensory deprived by the end of it. Like there's just it becomes so reduced to just like doodles almost by the
Yeah,
end of it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah. I love that actually. Because
Yeah.
these first few pages are so like the screws are just sort of like screwed in like super tight on the artwork.
Yeah.
It's really really tight, really
Yeah.
going for it. But then when it loosens up and it becomes more airy and it's breathing a little bit more, it's almost like weight is sort of off your mind.
Probably, and them
These are
too. Yeah.
yeah,
When they were making it,
probably.
they were like they could. Yeah, it was more obtainable for them probably. So here we have in this building here here's Private Ice, with his hilarious Segalian ponytail here, that is like seemingly like clawed into the front of his forehead, coming down almost to his nose, his widow's peak, which is amazing. And so Private Ice is here, and he's having this inner monologue. And then, of course, we see the first joke right off the top here, which is, I don't deal with other people's privates unless I have to. And then, and then he's like, a little detective humor, if you catch my drift, which is funny and cringy. But, and so that's what we're seeing here in the first page. And then we continue on, and now he's suiting up to go out on his big case, man. He's got a big mystery to solve. He's heading out. He's like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. These stairs, I mean. And you're just like, okay. What are you thinking by this point when you're going through this for the first time?
I'm loving it because I just think that these jokes are so bad that they're funny again.
Right.
But also I'm like, geez, it took you like 3 pages to just get down the stairs of this apartment building. No, 4, I guess, including the splash page.
Yeah. And
it just feels like not a lot is happening for how many pages I'm turning, in this book. So
I mean, it's clear. Yeah, it seems to me, it just seems like he's, they started working on this without like fully scripting it out first. And they're like, well, this is moving too slow and we got to ramp it up, right?
Which I think is something that when I was trying to make comics when I was a teenager, is something that I did, just
totally.
Just was like, I just want to draw this thing. I don't want to plan it out,
Exactly.
I don't want to write it. I just want to do it. So
no patience.
Right. Exactly. So, it's just, a lot of instances here probably could have been left out, but I love that they're here because this comic wouldn't be what it is without them. So
of course not. So we're seeing the inner sort of private eye monologue here continue as, he gets into his car and he's driving towards a mansion of some kind here. And now this is where the artwork kind of starts to free up a little bit.
Yes.
And this is an incredible exchange here. I think one of the top exchanges in the whole thing. So here's Private Ice, of course, coming underneath the police tape here. Man, I hate cops and yellow tape. And he's like, hey, I got clearance, man. And then here's also what I love too, is just like calling people man and dude and stuff, like just total adolescence here. Man, I hate private dicks. And then also, which is so part of this humor and where and a 15-year-old mind is just how many times he can get the word dick on this page, where he's like, you called me? Oh, the private dick, 1 second. Ma'am, your private dick is here. And it's just like, oh my God. Right?
I'm sure he's like belly rolling on the floor, laughing.
Totally.
Belly, just
hiding it from mom and dad.
The funniest shit ever. Totally.
Yeah, totally.
Which is great because I don't know. It's super entertaining.
Absolutely. Come in, Mr. Ice. Oh, by the way, and then his first thing he asks her is, "Are you married?" And then this hilarious, just like looking at her, making her super uncomfortable. And then he gets smacked. The jump cut to the smack, which is amazing. And and then I'm disoriented and where I'm supposed to go here, but I think here. Tell me, ma'am, what seems to be the problem? And then she's like, well, you moron, if you would have been paying attention, there's been a murder. So just off the top, just unbelievable human dynamics.
So good. Yeah, this I think might be my favorite page.
This one?
Yeah, just it's super weird. Is she the one? Is he the one asking, "Are you married?" Or I guess it's him that's asking.
I think so.
He's asking her
because she's like, "Come in, Mr. Ice." Oh, by the way, unless this dash here indicates that he's saying that, and they're sharing a word bubble, but probably not.
No, all right, yeah. So it's her. Yeah, it's really it's a super weird,
disorienting
sequence, and I'm not exactly sure. I'm getting exactly what Trobey and the artist are trying to communicate here.
Right.
But I don't really care.
I don't care.
What it's creating for me is more interesting than probably what they're precisely trying to communicate.
His
And
hair.
I love the panel when he gets smacked, panel 3. He says, "Thanks, I needed that before the sound effect happens." So it's you have to sort of like replay it again. You have to read the panel, then replay it in your mind in the proper order.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a really really weird feeling when
Jeez.
you're reading comics like this, but you don't get that sensation anywhere else. So
It's very true. And his hair, I just have to
yeah,
emphasize, is out of control.
yeah,
Um, so there's been a murder. This might be my favorite. Yeah, this is my favorite dialogue exchange in the whole episode
this
here,
is
or
good.
in the whole comic here. Gee whiz, chill out, babe. So it's like, okay, there's been a murder, but he's like, chill out, you know. And that's another thing. I don't like being called babe or chick or broad or hey sweet stuff. And he's like, okay, okay, just chill out, dudette. Oh my god.
Zing.
Such a zing. And then the murder was committed over here, and it's like, you got to settle. And there's just a fucking rib cage and like a left arm here. Like this is
It's
amazing.
unbelievable.
It's
So good.
unbelievable, like how casual they're just like fighting over this thing, and it's like chill
Yeah,
out, and it's like no, there's a fucking rib cage over here. You know, like what? I love it.
that's
Amazing.
a great. That's another thing is like, yeah, the way characters sort of react
Mm-hmm.
to in-world events
Detached.
is really hilarious.
It's so funny. So funny. So then he immediately starts to question her about if her husband has any enemies, and then she's like, "No, you idiot! Like I'm his only daughter, And then there's confusion, and then starts to talk about how he's part of this corporation, and then he's like, "Could you stand there over by the rib cage while I take some photos of you with the rib cage?" What? And then he starts to question her. Amazing, amazing page. And you can even see now from going from here, the artwork is even taking one further step down. It looks
Yep.
like, uh, and then she starts to talk about who was in the room, and apparently now it's kind of like almost Clue. Well, there was the vice president, his cook, and his secretary Bubbles. May I talk with the cook, please? That's the reference to, I think, cooking with fusion.
Right.
I think that has to be
Totally.
it.
Yeah,
So then,
it's definitely cluing into the cook.
yeah, exactly. Let's go into the kitchen and hey, Charlie, I got some questions for you. So then they start questioning the cook. And one of the amazing things here is that what he decides to zero in on, what his private eye expertise is noting here, is that why is the cook wearing rubber gloves?
Yeah. Why
So
indeed?
why is he wearing rubber? So how does a 15-year-old zero in on this? It's so weird to me, but also amazing. So then that occurs, and then he's like, "I gotta go," and so he leaves after he's been tipped off by the rubber gloves. After he's noticed, that's the only
Yeah.
clue. The only clue he needs before he's off into some other car, um, and arrives at the corporation. This is great too. This is an amazing page, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, it's almost like
Oh yeah.
Dr. Katz. Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I I can get lazy with drawing backgrounds
Mm-hmm.
myself, and so I always love like a spare
Mm.
background when you're doing a establishing shot like this.
Oh, right. Like this, you mean?
And
Or
yeah, like well that yeah the well I love that panel, and I love that he says, I thought buildings like this only existed in cartoons,
that's right. Yeah.
which I don't know
Totally.
what that means,
I
but
have no idea what that means.
it's really strange. Maybe it's just the way it's drawn or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but no, this background here where he's entering this office is just like
This is
is
great.
great.
It's really,
It's
really,
just
really
like
good.
yeah, of course there's a picture of a potted plant.
And a payphone.
There's a payphone on the wall. That's as
Yeah.
far as like they got, which is great.
So this must be Bubbles. I'm not sure. She's not really identified, but she
Mm,
immediately has the hots for Private Ice, of course. And while she, basically gives him his, she gives him her specs. I'm 5'4", 26, and I'm a Scorpio and love horses. Unbelievable. So then he wants wrong questions, man. She's calling her.
Yeah.
He's calling her a man. And then in typical, total, little 15-year-old snobby way, he has. I need to talk to Mr. Sassafrasonian.
Yeah.
Such a spaz. Such a Mountain Dew little spaz is Trobey. And he has the only office on the 13th floor. Okay, and then he goes into the elevator, and then we get into this crazy page here. What do you make of this page? Is there like industry lingo from this for this I'm not aware of?
No, super difficult to know which way to go with this kind of panel breakup. Yeah, no idea. But yeah, it's really weird. I don't know if I've ever seen this actually done before in comics.
Yeah, it's so weird. And of course, I'm just now noticing that the backdrop between this secretary now, I think, is the logo of the
Yeah.
of the actual publisher here, the Promasidium, which I can't even say, is Mr. Sassafrasonian here. Just hang on, and then it looks like this guy, who I'm not even sure who he is. I don't know who this person is. He's not properly identified in this issue either. And he's like, haha, the old bastard's gone. And he's taking off the Mr. Swiftwater president little name tag on this door. And if you weren't hyper paying attention to this issue, you find out later that Mr. Swiftwater is actually the guy who was murdered. He's the owner of the ribcage.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I did not get that. But there's a lot of confusion in this comic, and it is indicative. This page is sort of indicative of that whole feeling of confusion. But to me, that's what elevates this to a work of art in a lot of ways, because it only really makes sense to the artist, and us as like the readers and the viewers. We're just trying to sort of figure out like what this poem means, just trying to pull apart the pieces to figure out what everything means. And it doesn't really matter, because just that feeling that it gives you of confusion and trying to understand, but that there's some sort of underlying logic that's being applied by the artist when they're creating it, and we're just not getting there. We're just not meeting it. That's what makes it feel like art to me, like
100%.
Not just comics anymore.
100%. We actually have a term for it where it's like power comics hieroglyphics, where you're actually literally trying to interpret the meaning of almost like an ancient civilization here that is right. Impossible to understand without like being a scholar or having a master's degree. Okay, here we go. This is my favorite 3 pages. Maybe one of my favorite one of my favorite 3-page runs here in any issue. First off, so this is the guy who's looking at the door here, and then he's like, hey, what the hell are you doing in my domicile? Which is amazing thing to shout at anybody. And then this leg is why I'm here. This leg here is why we've gathered today. I just want you to know that. Unbelievable illustration here. And then
so good.
They start tussling. Looks like a knee to the face here from Private Eye's ponytail is blown in the wind here. And which is amazing too is, again, this is probably some deep-rooted inside joke between friends, where it says asterisk sound effects by Ken Moss. So like these guys are. This is something that Dad financed, Mom and Dad financed. And, they're going to give this out, at like recess. That's what this is. And somehow it's landed here, and I have no idea how, but it has. So this is a great illustration here of this fellow. So they get into this skirmish, and they're fighting each other, and he's Private Ice is interrogating him, and what were you doing the night of Mr. Swiftwater's death? And I came to ask some questions, right? And things are pretty heated here. And then as you flip the page, they're enjoying a spaghetti dinner together on the next page. And there is nothing in between that. It is like, I am kneeing you in the fucking face, and then now it's like, I'm slurping up noodles on the next page. And it's like, whoa.
And then Private Ice is like so dismissive of this guy. He's just like, man, this guy's boring.
This guy sucks. Yeah. So it says about a half an hour later. So what occurred between kneeing a fucking guy in the face and then having a spaghetti dinner with him at like a fine dining scenario. Like that, where's that movie?
Super weird. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, in my senior year, I held the record for eating the most spaghetti at one sitting. And then he's like, I gotta fucking go. This guy sucks. Man, he boring. Oh, so good. What an incredible transition. Literally, this is something to be inspired by. This is definitely something to be inspired by.
I love it. It's perfect.
I'm not even going to go back to ask the secretary anything. So he's still pissed about how stupid this slurping guy is. So then he goes back to his office, and we're seeing a headline here: "Body stolen from a morgue." I don't know what relevance that has, but he's like, and he's flipping through a newspaper. The cook from your recent case has just died. His secretary says, or somebody says, and then of course he spills a drink here, which I'll reference later on. There's an interesting thing involving that later on. And then now he's back to the mansion. I guess like it's interesting because what you noted earlier is like how slow paced this open is, and then now it's like we're just moving at a pace that we can't even freaking comprehend, right?
Yeah, totally. Whiplash.
So now we're back at the mansion. The art is still pretty atrophied here, and then he's talking to somebody here, a cop. It looks like. Because now the cook has died or something like that, and then now he's talking. The cop is telling him that he saw the vice president, Mr. Sassafrasonian, running out of the door. I still don't know who that is. I don't think you do either.
No,
because this isn't him, right? This is just some jabroni.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm so lost. I thought that might be that guy might be the cook. It's weird.
Labyrinthian. So then he goes off and let's see, then now he's off to where the vice president is, and then he's looking for him, and then another cop or security guard of some kind is informing Private Ice as soon as he arrives, out of breath, that the vice president, the president is dead. So that I don't know what's going on. And then there's like a lady of the night here saying that I'm not smiling at anything. And I'm taking her in for questioning. And she was the favorite of both presidents. So it's like, wow, I don't know what to say here.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's just,
you lost
at this
me.
point.
Trobey, you lost me.
Yeah, as soon as Private Ice leaves that spaghetti dinner with that guy, feels like we walked off a cliff into just total
chaos.
Confusion.
Yeah, totally. So then he sees somebody, though, I think, is what Trobey's trying to tell us here, or the artist.
Yeah.
That we see somebody here. He's like, hey, you, I like this here.
Me too.
This like action, like, oh, I gotta bolt after this guy.
But I love that those lines are just sort of like just dashed off, not even like really serious.
Yeah, total sugar high. Mountain Dew sugar high lines. And then now we're back. And there's a chair. I think it's a little misleading because I think the chair is actually coming at him, or.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because, I read it that way at first, but then his reactions later make it even more confusing to me. Like, I don't know if he shoved the chair or what's really happening.
I have no idea, because then a chair somehow goes through. No, it's in front of him because that's his little ponytail. Looks like his his horseshoe crab hair.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then he says, "Whoops, I didn't mean to hit him."
Oh, I don't know what that means.
I don't even know what that really is referring to.
Yeah.
But part of me was like, well, maybe he pushed the chair and hit somebody.
Somebody that we don't see. I guess he doesn't know. He doesn't really know who he's chasing after yet, too.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very strange, but it doesn't really matter.
Very abstract. Whoops, I didn't mean to hit him. I'd better see if I need to get the shovel out. What do you make of that?
I guess it's because, he's got to bury a body.
That's how I read into it, too. Which is...
Yeah, I'm not really... Yeah, I don't really know...
So weird.
What's happening.
Weird.
But we're just sort of like being... we're just surfing the wave. We don't really know where it's going. Or
It's interesting too, like on high school friends who are kind of collaborating on this too, and it's like there's the outsider quality of a 15-year-old who's writing it, and then
Yeah.
presumably another kid of a similar age who's drawing it, and they're kind of not probably on the same axis at all,
Yeah. There's
and
probably a disconnect for
there's a
sure.
disconnect. Like maybe even the artist didn't understand what he was supposed to do with the chair or the shovel or and they just never talked about it.
Could be.
you
Who
know
knows?
um now this person has jumped out the window even though a chair went through it, which I'm so confused. Now nobody could have survived that, and he's watching somebody, which is kind of cool actually, the way that this is done.
Mm-hmm.
Of this of course a trench coat figure falling down this building side here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these eyes are cool too as he's watching it happen. um and then the next page here, this is amazing, and then of course he lands like a ta-da with his like joker grin. um and that was a perfect 10-point landing, Private Eye says. That's got to be the killer, so that has to be the killer because of his perfectly flamboyant landing.
What's funny is like this is actually a pretty complex action. This person falling down, the side of the building,
Using their trench coat as a parachute, by the
and
way.
then using their trench coat as like a, you know, uh, some sort of parachute
Yeah,
to like land, safely. That's pretty good.
it's pretty good trick.
Yeah.
Um, and then so he rounds the killer, the alleged killer, rounds a corner into an amazing alleyway, and I love how
Yeah.
he depicts the alleyways in this issue, which we'll see in a second here. And then now Private Ice is darting extremely fast to get down the building, and that's where, of course, he runs into Bob.
Right.
And German Bob is in the elevator again, probably just some insane inside joke that no one will ever understand.
It's got to be some sort of like character that the artist just draws like constantly or something like that.
Yeah, total like during like social studies class, like on the inside
Yeah.
of the book or something.
Yeah.
And this is great. This is some of the best stuff. Because now he meets. I think this is the same woman from the beginning. Yeah, it is. This is
Yeah.
the same. This is the
I think
same.
it's the daughter.
The daughter, right. This is the daughter of the
Yeah.
murder victim, and now she's in the alleyway. As Bob, it looks like, is spray painting here, which is kind of hard to tell. But they're in this. She's in this alleyway with him, and they're kind of catching up on some of the exposition here. I heard the news of the vice president's death, and he's like, I gotta go though. Bye, later, babe. And she's really upset that he ditched her again, and then now she takes a look at this amazing graffiti wall that Bob is drawing here. And then he rounds the corner, and that's where he finds the reveal of our killer, who is a really kind of cool character design for this world, I think.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great. And so
Super evil looking.
Yeah, maniacal, super crazy. And he's like, okay, so we finally meet each other. And then now they're kind of, he's sort of admitting he's an assassin and he has his debts to society, and that's why he murdered these people. And then this page is amazing. Let's get busy. And then it looks like there's some extra little power going on here with this.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, he's got some sort of like superpower, and which is why I guess he had his hands covered with rubber gloves.
Oh,
He's
I
the
didn't
cook,
get that.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's so he was hiding his identity.
You're right.
And then I'm not really sure exactly what
Whoa,
happens
hold on.
if he's using the can or something.
Yeah. Wow. This is supposed to be the same guy?
Not sure. Yes.
Well, it's
That's
also
my
like
interpretation.
when you see this too, this happening here.
Yeah.
It's kind of got a similar vibe in the fusion too.
Oh, there you go. Maybe
Kinda-
that's his power cooking with fusion.
Yeah, trying to piece this all together. Yeah, the can is really weird. Like, why was he holding it, or what's the deal?
Yeah, I don't
there?
really get it. Or
I
is
don't
he
get it.
throwing it at him?
Oh, that could be. And then they start to tussle, which is
Yeah.
again another great page here. And then, how did you kill Mr. Swiftwater? He says, I don't understand what's happening here really. And he says, all I did
no
was
idea.
touch his food. You're right.
There you go.
Boom, and then he exploded. That's right, because someone mentioned that earlier, which we forgot to touch on, is that one of the witnesses mentioned that he just went up and exploded, and he did it
Spaghetti
because
dinner guy.
that's right. Okay, it's now making sense. It's now making sense. So he touching his food. He's the
Yeah.
cook. Um, and now we're seeing them, kind of duke it out some more. This is now looking pretty crazy here. This is pretty dynamic for Private Ice thus far, is it not?
Very. Yeah. There's like a lot of good motion, a lot of good different camera angles, and 180 rule is applied. It's
Yeah, yeah,
pretty good.
yeah, yeah. It is.
Yeah, and actually at the bottom, I just realized. Yeah, he just says. Ice says, "Yeah, it's the cook." So
Yeah, he's
it wasn't
thinking
an
it.
interpretation on my part.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Ouch. And then they fight some more. They're duking it out. Ice is punching him in the face. And then we get to the final page here. Pretty quick little jump cut after punching him in the face. And then, of course, the girl meets up with him. Why do I get all the weird, spelled wrong, cases? Oh, by the way, where did you learn to do that? Ice, what is your name anyways? And then we leave with the guy in the puddle of his own blood there, which is great. And
Super good.
more awesome, great, just graffiti. Don't even need to draw the bricks anymore. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
And then, of course, we have this awesome inside back cover here, which teases the next issue, like many Power comics, which would never come to be, which is another just awesome quality of these comics, that the story stops here and it's frozen in time forever, and then you
Yeah, future
realize
issues only exist in our imagination.
exactly, and that issue would have been the case of the missing yak. So
Super weird.
super
Super
weird,
weird.
super weird.
And
Plays
but these other comics that could have been are equally as
enticing.
appealing. Yeah,
Yeah,
enticing for sure. Bob getting his own comic, and then
which
the
looks great.
Travelers.
Yes, the Travelers. I heard we're the Travelers, and we're coming soon. So they don't even know they're a comic that's coming out soon, and that's actually
Yeah,
advertised on the
on the
back here,
back.
which
Yeah,
is really cool.
Travelers.
Really,
Very
really cool.
cool.
Very, very, very cool.
Yeah, I'm really sad that we don't get any Travelers comics.
I know. I have a feeling the Travelers might have actually been where it's at.
Yeah, looks
So
great.
before I bust out something a little bonus feature here, give me your wrap up on Private Ice.
It's just excellent power comic. It kind of hits all the notes, which is great. I mean, I love as making comics for me. I always start off my comics drawing them in a different space than how they finish. They always end up being like a different style by the end,
Right.
because you kind of figure out what the identity of the book is as you're working on it. So the first page is always like way different than the last page, and
Yeah,
it
definitely
makes
here.
yeah, for sure. And just the way that happens in this comic makes it really endearing to me, because it's just uh you know they're going through the same thing that I still go through,
Yes.
to this day. It's really
Yeah.
doing all these comics, um
That's amazing,
which is
actually.
which is crazy. But
Hmm.
and something that I learned from that is, like, when you're starting out a comic, I don't even know if this is like avoidable. It just happens, I think, naturally.
Hmm.
Um, maybe some comic artists are able to figure out a way around it, but not me. But that sort of lighter drawing toward the end, where there's like less detail, and it's just simpler, but it's more sustainable to like create pages with that style than it
Absolutely.
is with just like this heavy-handed cross hatching.
That's what they
Um,
learned while they were making it. They were like, "This is too
right,
too much." Like, Homeboy spent like a month on this, and we can't
right.
do
You
that.
can't do that with a
No,
comic page. You got
no,
like many more to draw.
totally.
Um, so it's just like, it just reinforces that sort of lesson in my mind, where you just have to like have a style that's super sustainable, that you can just knock out a ton of pages with, and not something that you're just going to be super flashy with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and to me it's like, I think, a lot of these power comics, we have suspicions on how old were the creators when they made something, and
Right.
sometimes they say in the inside cover, or sometimes they don't. And then like this was always a mystery to me. And then when I actually talked to the artist, or sorry, the writer Trobey, and he was like, I was 15 when I wrote this, and I'm trying to think back to like when I was 15, and like what comic would I have written at that time? And it probably wouldn't be too far off from this, you know.
Probably not. Yeah.
So that's amazing. When I did contact Trobey, I just got to bring it here because why not, right? He did have some original art pages for sale, so I jumped at the chance to own some original Private Ice here. I just had to, and it was cool that he had the last pages of the comic were available, which you can see are that amazing page here where he's dropping the can and the whole thing. It's so cool to see it this large too. You know,
I'm surprised at how big they are. Actually, I thought that they'd be drawn on like Xerox paper or something like that.
No, I know, which is kind of crazy. And then yeah, here's this page, obviously.
Amazing.
Which is amazing. Yeah, how did you kill Mr. Swiftwater? I still can't tell what this is supposed to be. Oh, I guess it's throwing the can back at him, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, amazing. And there's a lot of ads for Travelers you're seeing around too in the graffiti. But I gotta frame these. I gotta do something with these. And then of course he has the inside back cover here, which
oh wow, yeah. That's a great page.
Totally. Why do I get all the weird cases? And Case of the Missing Yak. I just like how this the title treatments here. And then I heard
you have that original drawing of Travelers.
I know. I wish I had the back cover. I don't. Yeah. But the one thing that I do have, even though this is a little problematic, is I have a teaser to what Private Ice 2 would have been.
Whoa.
So this is a page from the unfinished Private Ice 2, which I'm guessing would have been it says page number 2. So this probably would have been after a splash page. I would have come in, and here he is, Private Ice looking through the newspaper, and of coming through his intercom, Ice! And then, of course, he spills his milk, which was a throwback, which I was saying earlier, that he was spilling his drink in the previous episode.
Oh, right.
And then now you understand that there's and I know this from interviewing or talking to Trobey, that the whole issue was supposed to be about the relationship between these two and how she had some connection. His secretary had some connection to like ninjas, so it was going to involve ninjas. I know. And and then of course here's the problematic part. You got to call on line 3, and he's like, okay, Jen, nice girl, no brain, but nice girl. Yeah, must be that hairspray. That's what he's thinking.
Dang.
And then he's like, I love this. Yellow. Yellow. I actually like this rendering of his face much better.
It's really good.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Ice. This is Mr. Calm. I require your services for a little problem I have. And then it's like, we'll never get to know what that problem was. But cool, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I got to frame this for sure. Got to frame this shit. But anyway, there it is. Private Ice. Definitely one of the hallmarks of the Power Comic collection. It's very rare. It doesn't pop up that often. It's one that you really, I think, have to probably have been in the area of when this came out in order to find it. So it's truly a rare private press. I don't know how many issues they made, but I haven't seen it pop up anywhere really. So super rare. Again, another Power Comics Book Club episode in the can. Please, if you do not, join us on patreon.com/powercomics, where we're uploading the full issues of these comics so you can read them in high res, try and interpret new things that maybe we haven't seen. Maybe you can figure out what the fuck's going on here and what that drawing is, that can is, and all these people and what their motivations are better than we can. But check it out, and we'll catch you next time. All right. Peace, guys.